Are we connected? Yes, I did see that. I did read something very briefly this morning that President Macron, the French president, the current sitting French president, had signed some kind of decree or agreement to have France return certain historical artifacts to certain African countries, including Benin and others, I think. And apparently, these items were taken about 130 years ago, approximately, something like that, when I guess French citizens, soldiers, I'm really not sure, but French people, maybe the French government, I don't know, had gone into these African countries and had basically helped themselves to a lot of artifacts, or things that are now in French museums, like the Musée Branly, I think, in the central Paris. And so I was, what was my reaction? I mean, as I said, I read it very briefly, so I'm not an expert in any of it. I wasn't really even aware that France and any African country were in talks to have these artifacts returned to Africa. But I will say that I was very pleasantly surprised. Maybe should I say I was surprised? I was very proud of President Macron for sure. I didn't see him as someone who would necessarily do something like that based on a soundbite I heard him say maybe a year or so ago about American curriculum in French universities, and curriculum, I think, pertaining to slavery and colonialism and so on and so forth. So I was kind of like, I put him in a certain category in my mind, which was probably unfair, obviously, and maybe a little bit judgmental, which I apologize, President Macron, because I really just didn't see him as someone who would be approachable on these kinds of topics. But I think also recently I saw him laying wreaths in, what is this, North African country? Not Tunisia, Algeria, um, to sort of commemorate, or maybe, I don't want to say apologize. I don't want to put words into this that were not part of it, but certainly respecting the Algerian people and what had occurred during the war between Algeria and France, decades ago. And I thought that was a very, very interesting move, and I thought it was very respectful and very vague on his part. But certainly, this new development of him signing a decree or agreement to have France return these African artifacts after 130 years or so is pretty impressive. I admire him for being so big to have been able to do that. I don't think everybody in his position would necessarily have been able to do it. Many presidents have come and gone and haven't done it. And it's like in America with the emancipation by President Lincoln. Many presidents had come and gone and hadn't had the courage to do that. And many could have come and gone and not had the courage, but he came and he had the courage. And I think that it's important to recognize that when it does happen. I would further say, though, that it's a beginning. It's not the end. It's not enough. I think in this particular decree, President Macron said something to the effect of, this does not establish a right to restitution and reparation going hand in hand. I believe I don't agree with him at all on that particular point. I think in the United States and in England, And this book is certainly about those two countries and not about France, as I have said, because I think that the French uh, Republic, they have their own issues with this, and that need to be dealt with. But I didn't think I had the standing or enough knowledge or of the history and the language to really talk about it in a even remotely intelligent way. But I think that President Biden and Prime Minister Boris Johnson in the UK should definitely take a page, yes, from President Macron on this, because this goes back 130 years, and he basically restituted these countries. I mean, he's sending this stuff back to where they belong, to where they were wrongfully taken. I think that in the United States and England, obviously, you can't return these lives that have now passed, the labor that has already been taken, but you can restitute the relatives of these workers with the equivalent value, with the current present value, with the fair value of what was wrongfully taken. And I think no matter what France says about this not establishing a right to restitution, I think President Macron and all leaders similarly situated as he is, including President Joe Biden in America and Prime Minister Boris Johnson and others, they know what is right. They know. And I think they're going to get there. I think sometimes getting there is hard, even in our personal lives. It's hard on a personal level, it's hard on a national level, it's hard on an international level to do what is right all the time, and to just get to that moment where you say, look, I mean, this is the right thing and I'm going to do this. But I think that this is such a huge step. I think Germany apparently has already done that before France by returning things to Nigeria that were wrongfully taken from those countries. And, I think that in America and in the English Commonwealth, in the Caribbean in particular, that these governments will likewise get there, hopefully sooner rather than later, that they will, take President Macron's example and, and start to talk about this in a healthy way, in a respectful way, in a way that does not antagonize, everybody. Some people are never going to be happy with whatever is decided, but it's important, I think, that there is a solution that human beings on the planet, people who live, who want a healthier world, who believe in justice and human rights, in trying to do that which is right, that, we have to have some kind of solution that sort of captures all all of that, and because something has to be done. This can't continue. And in particular, the restoration of the human rights retroactively and symbolically of these approximately 17 million innocent, undefended civilians who had done nothing wrong, to have all of their human rights, their labor rights, their civil rights, their constitutional rights, their property rights, everything just arbitrarily taken away in this egregious manner, including their membership in the human species, the despeciating of these people is an actionable wrong. As I have said, it's a wrongful type of death in a way that relatives are entitled to compensation for. And if nothing else, that these governments must go back and retroactively say it, that they were part of our human family. It was wrong to have done what was done to them. And this is what our country will do to express our sincere remorse for what happened to such a large swath, that's however that word is pronounced, of our human family. I think that's so important for the world, for the self-esteem of so many people in the world, and just for the conscience, I think, of others, whatever their nationality, who know what's right and what's wrong, and that, it is wrong, definitely, that our governments, the collective governments involved, have never expressed any real remorse for this. Congratulations to President Macron. I am so proud of him. I love him in this moment. And I hope that, he will continue to reflect on these issues and maybe lead. Maybe he needs to lead the rest of these powerful governments in doing the right thing. So, yeah, that's my take on that one.